Happy first Tuesday of June. My, how time flies, eh? And so as we start this new month, I want to take this moment for, as I always do, to say check in on those around you. Check in on those who they've gone through something over the past month, year, even a couple of years, because some things take a long time to get over and heal, even if we think that, oh, they're doing fine because they're smiling. I talk about the masks that we wear all the time, and we do. We're always hiding something about ourselves. And when we can stop hiding, then we can really start healing. So checking on those, make sure they're doing fine. And if the response to you is, oh, I'm fine, fine only means feelings inward, not expressed. That's how Agape put it, and I love it. Don't accept just fine. Make sure that you understand if they really are doing well or if there's something they need. And then see if there's something you can do to help. And then I want to go into my sponsors, and I'm always open for more sponsors, but I start with my beautiful sis, Dr. Constance Leland with Level Up Academy. She has the Netflix of education. That's her goal. She's a publicity maven, a publicity queen. When you're looking to level up, whether it's education, whether it's your press releases, your public image, what you're putting out there, touch base with her. In terms of press releases, she will make sure that you are ready for the next level. That ability that she has to see into what you're telling her and basically let you know if you're ready to go or not. And if you're not ready, if she sees you're not ready, she's not going to have you waste money. She's going to give you some ideas on how to get ready so that when you come back, when she puts out publicity for you, it's in the best possible light for the best possible gain that it can happen. So scan the QR code, check her out. She has podcasts, she has radio, she's got TV shows, she's got live stream. She's on, it's like, I'm on now on Tuesdays. She's at this time, Wednesdays, Thursdays. She does Influencing You on Fridays at 10 a.m. Pacific. And the two of us have been on her nightly Sunday shows at 7 p.m. Pacific time. So we'd love to see you there. Hounds of Business. My first thought with the Hounds is collaboration over competition. Check in with Mike Ashebrainer, the leader of the pack. What I've seen with the Hounds is so many people that connect, and you might sit back and go, it looks like they do the same thing, but they don't. When you collaborate, you're able to reduce a lot of anxiety. When you collaborate, you're able to learn from each other, glean new ideas, ways to improve what you're doing, what you're offering, what's happening. So look at what you're doing, and when you can find somebody, even if you think they're doing the same thing as you, but you can work with them, you can collaborate with them, see what happens. I've seen 2 or 3 people get together in the Hounds that one might think they're doing the same thing or very similar, and yet what they've done is created amazing events, amazing opportunities. Collaboration over competition. And then C&M Consulting. That's my dear sis, Danielle. CMC is a leading management advisory consulting firm that specializes in human resources. And we know how important HR is in organizations and to do things right. With her, they're all centered around empathy-driven and heart-led solutions, which is exactly what Danielle is. She is driven by empathy. I have seen it. But her knowledge too, she understands the regulatory requirements, how to make sure that compliance occurs, while at the same time making sure that you have a culture of trust and workplace excellence. So check her out and what all's going on. When it comes to HR and your organization, the people are so important, and creating that space of belonging is really important. I talk about it. Danielle, she lives it. Our anthology, we are in the final stages of writing this anthology, sharing stories of what it means to be grateful with a heart wide open, what it means to have gratitude, what the gratitude is for, what things in our life changed us in a way that is filled with gratitude. And the stories that are coming out of this, when this comes out in a couple of weeks, you're going to be reading amazing stories. That what's really interesting to me is how different people coming from different walks of life who didn't know they were going to be in this anthology, when they write, the stories all have something in common. There are connections between all of the stories. I can't wait both to put this together and for readers to read that soul-hearted story. Read what comes out of each story and its own soul, and then to see what this book has, because the book is going to have its own life, its own soul. And I can, with these books, with CJ and I can never tell what is bigger, the heart of the stories or the heart of the book that was created by all of those different stories. And then I like to end with Bella Grace here. It's a product, this elixir. CJ talks about it all the time. I still have to get into it, but I do love some of the Bella Grace that I have. I've got a lip plumper that is just, it's both healthy for the lips and it plumps them up because my top lip is getting thin. But I've also seen with Bella Grace, and especially this elixir, what it's done for CJ, how it's healed some aspects that she would tell me that she had a sore knee, and after taking this for a while, she starts talking about how she's not feeling it anymore, and how she's feeling better in so many places. And I know that Bella Grace, they really take to heart what it means for what products go in and what they're doing and how they create it and how they distribute it. So I like to put this up there and say, check them out. Scan the QR code. If you got detailed questions, reach out to CJ and see how Bella Grace can help you going forward. So with that, I'm going to see first who's here. And wow, the first one here is Charles. So glad to see you, Charles. It's been a long time since I've been to Hong Kong. I think the last time I was in Hong Kong was 2019, and I was kind of going back and forth between the States and there for a few years. So it was, I loved going through Hong Kong, and I had my favorite pizza place. So every time I went, I knew where I was going to get. I had to go for pizza. And Usman, it's lovely to see you here and the support you've had for us with CJ too. So with that, I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm going to bring up Baz, and I think it's time to get the ball rolling, because you've got so much you've gone through, so much you've done, accomplished, and I have a feeling there's so much that's sitting on the horizon that's about to explode in its own ways.
Firstly, thank you for having me here, Suzanne. I appreciate your platform and I appreciate your listeners. How may I serve you and your listeners?
I'm going to start off with, I want them to be able to get to know, who is Baz. I know CJ has her 20-year question. For me, it's just pick whatever highlights you want in terms of what got you from What got you to where you at now, right now?
Firstly, that's a great question. I think the thing that got me through the journey in the darker times, which I can or cannot go into, it's entirely up to you, um, was knowing there was light at the end of the tunnel. And although there was a lot of roller coaster, up and down, uncertainty on the way, there's always this element of no matter what I'm going through or what people are going through right now, everything I know is going to be okay. There's a plan that I can't see, there's a pathway that I can't see, there's an opportunity that we are not seeing. But it's having that faith in whatever you believe in greater than yourself, whether it be God, energy, universe, Allah, Buddha, it doesn't matter how you class it. But one of the commonalities that I see with entrepreneurs, business owners, CEOs of any standard or level, we see the world differently. And we see the good in the environments, the potential in environments. Yes, there are challenges, but them challenges we often turn into an opportunity. And a friend of mine called it grit. She actually wrote a book on it. Her name is Maya Gordon. She's on LinkedIn, heavily present on LinkedIn. Amazing human being. She just released a book called Grit. So it's grit, determination, knowledge of the unknown, but making it known into the light. And she talks about her journey of how she became a vagrant. She's now just had a child very recently. She's just given birth, I think, to a baby girl. I may have that wrong, but congratulations to her. But that's another example of grit and understanding that there's light always at the end of the tunnel. And my journey consisted of, like many others, it's no different to, millions of other people who went through challenges where they saw opportunities. And then opportunities become greater because they stood into their power. But every time they leveled up, they remained in gratitude. They remained thankful for the journey, and they remained grateful for the people they met on that journey. And it was a key component that I've seen in many different avenues of people rising from the ashes, rising from adversity, going through turmoil and challenges, but they still remain grateful. The ones that don't remain grateful, I've noticed, fall or stumble or have to repeat the lesson.
Yeah, and grateful. It's something that it really hit me more over the last few years to keep that in the heart instead of. I don't think I ever thought much about it until these past, I'm gonna say 5+ years, and being able to look back and just accept everything that happened without wishing to change anything, because knowing that to change anything in the past is to change who you are now. That's the butterfly effect, as written by Ray Bradbury in his time travel short story Sound of Thunder, and that it resonates with me. Which, if you've seen my signature emoji, that last butterfly is for the butterfly effect.
Mm-hmm. So where did you find your inspiration from writing books? I'm just curious.
I've always liked writing. I didn't first start to write with the idea of trying to publish anything until I'd finished reading Ender's Game, in the mid-90s, and I had this dream where it was a takeoff of Ender's Game, but on a planet, and I had these plant men and stuff. And anyway, I started writing the dream, and then I started. That was my first serious short story that I started crafting, and for the next 20 plus years, I would write stuff. But my Armor of God book, that's really my first book that I've written, book length, the two of them actually. And that's because I was reading in my grandfather's Bible that my mom had given me. He was a Lutheran pastor. So I said, I was reading Ephesians 6, and he numbered these 6 things. I didn't know what it took me 3 weeks, 3 different readings before I understood what my grandfather was numbering, the 6 pieces of the armor of God. But the very next thought that went through my head was, can I turn this into a fantasy story? And then from 2013, when that happened, I self-published it in 2023, both books. So both books came out in 2023. That's the full story, but there's still more to write.
Of course, there's always more to write. I mean, I like one of the most famous authors in the world, J.R.R. Tolkien, did it from a channeled piece of work. He was channeling, or however you want to define that, he was imagining a character, and it turned into not just The Hobbit, but The Lord of the Rings, and the trilogy is today the iconic Gen X, my era of growing up, and it became I remember that being read. I was being read that as a kid, So writing and informative writing from different aspects is so powerful. What you do matters.
Mm-hmm.
And the way your version or an interpretation of that, people resonate with.
Exactly. And that's what we want. We want to work with the people that we can resonate with. Mm-hmm. Because that's where you get the best chance of being lifted, or I'll use CJ's term, level up. And it's I always include her because it's, one, she's my bestie. I can't imagine. I tell her this all the time. I really don't know. I'll say it this way. I really don't know where or if I'd be right now without her.
There's always that one person. There's always that one person.
There is, and we need those people.
100%. How may I best serve your audience? Have you got the audience got any questions? Do they have? I'm happy to answer any questions from you or your audience likewise.
I'm always interested to see who pops up with questions. Normally, it's CJ pops in at some point and starts throwing the questions out. Otherwise, it's having this conversation, because I kind of want to go back. I remember reading something, and I thought it was in your bio, where you talk about helping people break out of invisible prisons.
Mm-hmm. So that's a great concept. I came across it through my own journey, and I realized probably about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago now, that I and myself, many others were playing a role in their lives that didn't agree with them. Mm-hmm. And what they were doing was cycling in this, in the box of constructed normality. Let me back up a few years. When I was a kid, I was classed as stupid at school. Classed as thick. It was dyslexia, or as I say, dyspexia, and I couldn't words, and they still do today. They jump around on the page, and I'm slower at reading, although I'm audibly very intelligent. I kinesthetically learn, and I learn by visual. So I do it and then hear it, and I can carry it out. But as a kid, I was bullied for not being normal. And it was back well before there was anything of dyslexia or ADHD or any other than nice little verbiages that we use today. What I was actually doing was seeing things differently. And I share this sometimes with people. When I used to look out the window, I used to see past events. So where I grew up in school, there was a massive playing field. And I used to see people not from this era, spirit, if you will, playing cricket or football. You call it soccer, but it's football. It's
Right.
football. That's it. We're not going to have that discussion. But I used to be more interested in that than I was in the classroom until it came to science. Science was my best subject because I enjoyed it. And I was told to shut up, not to say anything by my mum and dad. It didn't exist, blah, blah, blah. When I joined the forces, I started to tune a bit more into my intuition. And it kept me safe in a lot of situations. And then as I went through that journey and became a DJ in Cyprus, I was playing in front of about 10,000 people a night. Crazy lifestyle. Don't do it because you get into drugs, sex, and rock and roll and all of that jazz. But I wouldn't see the audience as people. I would see it as light. And the brighter the light, the more I played that music. The light started to dim, changed the music slightly, and that's how I used to play. I couldn't explain it. Then, after a collapse, if you like, of my whole world, several actually, became homeless. I realized that I had post-traumatic stress, undiagnosed. Didn't know what that was because there was no label for it back then. It was just what it was. I became homeless. I went in that cycle of not very nice person for about 10 years. Finally broke out of it due to a wake-up call, kind of Jesus moment, whatever you want to call it. But I realized in that journey, I had to speak my truth, or a version of what I thought was true back then. So I got on Facebook. I'm not really there anymore. But I wrote an essay on a post, and it basically said, I've been holding this in for far too long. I'm a medium, I'm a healer, da 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 da. And I thought I was going to get ridiculed. Completely the opposite happened. When were you going to tell everybody? We're proud of you. People that I knew for a very long time came out of the woodwork and were like, go back, let's do this. And I was like, what the hell? I joined a Facebook group with like-minded people. Had 4,000 people in it. And I actually helped grow the group to 36,000 people in about 6 months. And I realized I was helping people solve their problems, but they were also mine at the time. What it was doing was forming the basis of what I talk about and teach and coach, guide now. But I realized that my box was keeping me limited. And the only way I could break free of that version of myself, the alcoholic version, the addiction, the homelessness, the victim modalities that I was conditioned with, was to say, actually, that's not who I am. This is my redefining moment. And I start to state who I am. Now, obviously, it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't go, one day you're this person, and the next day you're that. I've always been my authentic self, but I had a version of that to suit society because I thought that's what they wanted to see. It wasn't until I went, no, that's not who I am, I realized that I was in a prison, but it was a self-made prison. And it was a limited version of myself that was keeping me at bay to stop me going into what I actually do today. And yes, it was scary. Yes, I was scared because I didn't know the path. I didn't know it was all going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
But in me facing that fear, telling my story, understanding a deeper version of myself, I started to go deeper and help others understand their world, which came with a methodology of what I do today, which is rounds. I now write books. I do host a podcast. I have a fairly successful business, and I can get pick and choose who I work with at whatever level. But I decide in my version of what I want through my own values, my own belief system, my looking at what I don't want, my way values. Do they align? Does my business align? Do the people that I'm co-creating with align with it? And to an end result. So I designed an end result, which is a 10-year project for me. And that 10-year project is simply to create a institution, a platform, physical and online, whatever version that probably going to be in a version of artificial intelligence. We're not sure yet. But it's to serve and teach what I was never taught as a kid. So like things like meditation, what energy is, the science behind it, not just the theory, the actual science of quantum physics, how it all works, how energy incorporates in us, what water does, the biomechanics, dimensional mastery. But also, I want to teach people entrepreneurial skills, business skills, sales skills, what marketing truly is, not what the market tells you it is, and how it intertwines with artificial intelligence, how that fits in, quantum mechanics, etc., etc. If we can teach that to our children, grandchildren, and beyond, you're teaching the skill sets that people now spend thousands and thousands of dollars trying to understand. And most of it is watered down, diluted into an aspect of a version of what the person's selling it to be. They don't give you all of the skills, they give you a certain part, and then they upsell you with something else.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's just I think I've gotten tired of some of that because of the ones that I've seen. And the thing is, we've got the skills, actually the learning and everything you're talking about in terms of for the kids. That's something that's very similar to what I want to see, how I want to see it. For me, it's the initial focus is on women and girls to stop, partly because of what society is doing, and it's so easy to think you have to be whatever it is that you're seeing on whatever social media platform you're looking at, that's what you have to emulate, that's what you have to be, when the reality is that's letting somebody else put you in a box. That's letting them dictate. And for me, I take it all the way back to, I'll take it back to like something that happened at the age of 7, and that's where my box started.
Mm-hmm.
And so for kids, especially when they're going out of middle school, going into high school, to be able to drop all of that societal pressure and just be themselves, be able to learn what they want, not what other people are saying they have to learn, to be able to be given opportunities to really explore what their interests are, so they can run with that instead of I'm going to go pre-med because my parents want me to be a doctor. I mean, it's unless that's really what you want, but you don't know what you want because you're saying it's their fault that you're doing this.
Yeah. It's interesting you bring the parents up. I mean, I've traveled fairly extensively. I've done probably 97 or so countries. And I've seen both sides of the fence. I've seen rich, I've seen middle class, and I've been on the streets. So I've been to, it's interesting because the kids in society of today, God love them, have a concept of what their life should be.
Mm-hmm.
And they have I mean, I heard I don't know what era they're from, but she said 100K was broke to her. She was broke at 100K. And I was like, that's a cool concept. When my broke is, I don't know how I'm going to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been there, and a lot of people, I know a lot of people have. So the standards of what we set for ourselves are informed by who we hang around with, our parents, our upbringings, our siblings. So if you're saying 100K is a panic moment for you, you're doing well.
Yeah.
But having the gratitude and knowledge and understanding to go, I get it. And they walk down places like Skid Row in LA. And I've been to Skid Row. I stayed in a hostel on the 7th and Flower when I first came to LA when I was traveling. And one of the things that I remember was a Friday evening at 10 o'clock. I heard gunfire. And I looked out the window. I was like, cool. I was used to gunfire. I've been in them environments. But a lot of people don't realize that's a normality for people on the streets. And they're in the Brentwood and the Beverly Hills and the Hollywoods. Not so much Hollywood these days, but back in the day. But certainly there is a concept of they're ignorant to it. They're in this little world of I'm okay. But having the awareness that there is more out there. I mean, I know people who have never left the United States, and they say they know the world. How can you know the world at any concept if you've never left your own country? Can't. Oh, I saw it on the news. You mean you've seen what they want you to see
Bingo.
in a dimension that they want you to know or understand or believe? It doesn't mean it's factual or true, and we're seeing that in today's society. It doesn't mean because you realize it or see it on a platform that it is real, because you don't know the backstory, you don't know what's happened. You only see a version of what they're telling you. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, it's just an observation. But what's true for you now is changeable. Because that belief you have now may not be the belief you're going to have in 10 years. It may not be the belief you've got tomorrow, because all it takes is somebody to come in and say, what if this is possible? And then you're like, hold on a minute. Well, 100K. I can have 100K month or 100K day. I can have that. Well, what else is possible? I saw Russell Brunson a few years ago sell 4.5 million from one stage. And I didn't think that was possible until I saw it. And I was like, cool. What else is possible? Someone once told me traveling the world on donations wasn't possible. Hold my beer. I know it is because I did it. I never thought I would be here today. But I'm here because somebody had faith in me. when I had barely faith in myself. You spoke of CJ earlier.
Mm-hmm.
He has faith in you. How many people in the audience here have that one person that had faith in them when no one else did, even themselves? And they attribute their existence because of that incident or that person. But the truth of the matter is, you made it possible because you were open to the opportunity. You are that magnet, and you will receive the blessing of whatever that grace was, and you're grateful for it. The sooner you realize that you are your own creator of whatever environment you're in and creating, and everything that has been, forgive, forget, forgive. Certainly don't necessarily forget everything, because they're your best teachers. But when you're creating something, think outside the box. I like to say, don't think there is no box. You get to create your box from a prison you once were. I sometimes call it the success trap. When I came to the States, I was told success was having a 7-figure business. So I created one within 14 months for $7. That didn't make me happy. Then I was told it was being on big stages around the world. So I did that. It didn't make me happy. And I thought to have huge celebrity guests and celebrity clients to serve them. It didn't make me happy. But what made me happy was changing people that truly wanted something greater for other people than themselves. And I found women of a certain caliber after doing a deep research. I mean, I interviewed 400 people on LinkedIn. I sent out 700 and something messages plus, and 400 of them of my ideal client got back to me and said, "What are you selling?" Well, most of them said, "I don't want to pitch. I don't want a sales call." I went, "I'm not selling you anything. I promise you I will not sell you anything on this call. I just want to understand your world." And after interviewing 400 people, not publicly, not on my podcast, nothing, but understanding them at a core level, I realized that a lot of what was going on in the world was their own self-worth, their own prisons.
Mm-hmm.
And they aren't breaking down the barriers online because they've built up this castle, this fortress of, I'm impenetrable. Look what I've done. And they've masked their success and problems in this brand. And there's nothing wrong with that. But behind the scenes, they're up at night. They're feeling the anxiety. They don't know how to come from A to B. And they're just like everybody else. But online, and the presence online of not telling you that. And I will never divulge who my clients are and also their problems. But I know the people behind the brand. Some of them I've interviewed on the podcast. But they're the ones changing the world. Not the big people on stages. And I'm privileged to have been in front of these people. The Tony Robbins, the Grant Cardones, the Gary V's, the list goes on. The late Bob Proctor, John Maxwell. I've been in front of them in these arenas. But they're just normal human beings serving other people. And they've all got stories. My question to these people who are watching this now is, what's your next level? What's your why behind what you're doing? Connect with that, and you release yourself from any trap or any self-made prison, success trap, and you start doing it because there's a deeper connection to authenticity. Some people say, Gratitude is the highest vibration. I disagree. In fact, I have proof otherwise. Authenticity is. Because as soon as you're in alignment, things flow. As soon as you're speaking your truth, whatever that is, in that moment, things flow. Gratitude magnifies it, and love expands it. But authenticity is a driving force. And that I've found to be true in every faith on earth and in business, whatever business you're in. If it fails, it's not supposed to be, or it's not supposed to be then. If your relationship breaks down, it's not in alignment. Maybe you were at one point. There was love there at one point. They're a human being. But people level up, people grow, and people expand. And that person or persons cannot come with you on that journey. But send them love on both sides. Because the moment you start sending them love and opening up to communication, the rest dissolves. The conflict dissipates. Because you're not in resonance or not in combatant with the other side. And then there's space to open up and understand. And when there's communication, there can be understanding. And when there's understanding, there's resolve. People are always going to have points of view. But while you're in that trap, you can't see it.
No, it's almost impossible. I can think of so many times when during my life I was in those spots and I don't see what really was going on until after I'm out.
You don't have to see it. You just have to trust it. And the hardest thing people do, the hardest thing sometimes to do is trust the path, even though you can't see it. Do you remember Indiana Jones? Temple of Doom? Temple of Doom? I think it was Temple of Doom. When he's going after Holy Grail.
Yeah, that's Temple of Doom.
Okay. And he has to go across a gorge, but he can't see the path.
Right.
What does he do?
I believe the instructions were take a leap of faith.
Okay, a leap of faith. And to prove that leap of faith, he threw a load of stones out because he still didn't have faith.
But this came after.
Correct.
The step.
Correct. But he still didn't know, after taking the leap of faith on that path, it was going to be okay. So he had to verify it for himself. So he picked up it afterwards and he threw it out. Then he could see it.
Right.
That's not how manifestation works. You have to believe completely in the outcome. But the pathway is a different journey. A prime example of that from what I experienced was when I left the UK. I thought I was going to Tibet. I was done with people, everything. I wanted to help people. I didn't know what that was going to look like. I left on faith with $360. I didn't have any savings. I had a one-way plane ticket to New York and a belief I could make it to Tibet. The thing that changed everything was meeting on a chance encounter through a client of mine. She brought a +1. That +1 is now my wife. Nicola changed my entire life through something I said earlier. She saw something in me that I did not see in myself. Everybody thought she was nuts. You're marrying a what? Oh my God. We met for 3 days. I flew to Australia. We had a long distance relationship. She then flew me back. I came in this country with $7. She believed in me. She didn't even give me any money, but she invested her love and time with me. And our relationship deepened even more. And then in 2019, in September, we got married in Orcas Island. I was gifted a retreat for a healer called Rob Wergan. He's actually appeared on the documentary Heal with Joe Dispenza and some other people. And that was the turning point for me. It was scary. I thought I was never going to get married. That was it. Done. I don't want a relationship. I want to go and sit the rest of my life on top of a mountain in the snow. I'm good with that. She changed the entire my life completely. And I added value to her. But that one encounter, that one decision to come back from Australia changed everything. So I encourage anybody, do what's scary to you, but make sure it's authentic for you. If it's someone mentioned consulting, great. If it's consulting, do it if that's your passion. But find a singular problem you can solve that you love doing. My audience is women. Why? Because I did a deep dive in my business and I realized I scare men. Men find me intimidating. Women gravitate towards me. It's not because I'm good looking. It's not because of my accent, or some people say it is, but women gravitate towards me. And it's an energy thing. I'm a guide. I'm not a coach. And when I help people, I help them not from an academic point of view or theory. I know because I've been where you are. And I also know the pathway to come out of that smoothishly, because everything is always a journey. But you have somebody by your side that can go in the tunnel with you at 3 a.m. in the morning. And I've done it. I've had calls saying, I'm going to unalive myself at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm saying, give us 2 minutes, let me get a cup of coffee, stay on the line. And I've spent 7 hours with them. I'm not a trained mental health professional, but I understand people and I can listen. And sometimes that's all they need. You don't need flashy bells and whistles and $1 billion project or company to do anything. To sit there and just listen. I've done it on Greyhound buses when I had $6 in my pocket. And I changed someone's life because I spent 4 hours listening to his story about how he became an addict when he got off at Tulsa. Was it Tulsa? No, El Paso. He got off. He threw that white powder down the toilet. I watched him do it. And I don't know what happened afterwards, but he said to me, I'm going to make an effort to see my daughter. I haven't seen her in 7 years, 7 or 4 years, one of the two. Now I hope and pray that person did the right thing by his daughter. Because for the first time in a very long time, he put his legacy first, as in his daughter first, and put all the arguments down. And I hope he went to the payphone and made that call to his ex-partner and said, I'm sorry, I was an idiot. Can I see my daughter? Because when I looked him in the eyes, when we were traveling and we had to stop at El Paso, that guy was adamant he was going to be doing drugs all the way through until he sat down next to me. Was it a coincidence? I can't tell you. Was it divine intervention? I have no idea. But all I know is I had an opportunity to help someone change their life, and that's what I tried to do. If you get an opportunity to do so, do it. Not because you want to earn thousands of dollars or be famous, because that doesn't work. It's not a driving force. I know because I went there. It doesn't happen. Fell flat on my face. And I lost everything. 7 figures down to 0, 3 weeks. Because I was an idiot. Fame, fortune will not replace anything unless it's in alignment with you.
Right.
And once it is, life changes. I love you both, CJ. I love you too. Not both of you, all of you.
Yeah, sis has shown up.
It's about you being in alignment with what you truly feel passionate about. If your passion is writing books, do it. If your passion is coaching or healing, do it. And if you can't do it full time, do it part time for a bit until you can make it full time. But do it because the worth that you're exchanging is at your worth. And there's no limit to that. Some people for a month's coaching, I know some of these people charge $500. Some people for a day coaching will charge you $100,000. The same thing, but the person values themselves at that level because they put themselves in the right rooms for the right reasons. And when they say, so how much do you charge? The person comes back with, well, $500 for a month. Yeah, I'll do that. Because the person values them at that price. Equally, a person will say, so how much do you charge? Up 100 grand a day. I can't afford that right now, but can I come back to you when I can? Sure, we can have that conversation. Or, oh my God, why are you charging that much? The answer is because I can, and people pay it. I don't charge $100,000 a day. Maybe in the future I will, but at the moment I don't. But as soon as you step up and level up, that box gets removed. People mentor for free because she has the opportunity to do so. She has the credibility. She has the freedom to do that because she has so many other opportunities. Everybody has their own thing, but knowledge and time are always a trade. It doesn't have to be money. Money is the commodity most people work in. There's something that Dr. Greg Reed shared with me a few years ago, and it was the old analogy of there's three people. One of them wants a plane, one of them has a plane, and the other one has a plane for sale. How do they all benefit? The person that has the plane gets introduced to the person who wants the plane by the person who knows the plane, and there's a percentage exchange so everybody wins. So let's say 10% for introducing, 10% from the buyer. So the introduction, they get 10% off each person. So the person who's doing the introducing gets 20% of the whole sale of the plane, just for connecting the relationship. The person sells the plane, gets the cash. The person gets the plane, and the person in the middle into doing the introduction gets 20% of whatever that is. Everybody wins. Who's winning when there is conflict or there is there's no alignment?
Nobody. It's difficult to win in those situations.
Yeah. So I always say, so what is the winning, the ideal scenario with all of this? People read your books. Do they apply the knowledge? You can't tell them. You get a review, great. Or the best outcome is they pass that knowledge on to the next generation, or their best friend, or they share the book. There's a very famous book we all have knowledge of, but very few apply. And it's probably the most famous book in the world. And there's different versions of it, different languages, but it has the same principles: collaboration, and it was the Bible. but it's teaching something deeply rooted in society. Love, understanding, collaboration, and cooperation. That's at its core. And whether you believe in whatever you believe in, that's rooted in humanity. That's the forgotten message people have reawoken or been rediscovering, is that collaboration. What's your next level?
And it's crazy how fast time flies.
Mm-hmm.
But I could keep this going because there's so much here, and it's so important. Oh yeah, I gotta put this one up because CJ talking about The Great Gatsby is like, okay, I guess I gotta pull that one off the bookshelf somewheres. Because we ended up talking about that last night after she was checking in on me because I gave her the emojis, and so she starts talking about The Great Gatsby, which is like, I haven't read that. She's like, it's been so long since I've read it. I go, it's been longer for me because I just turned 60. She's not even 50. She's a young pup. But yeah, belonging, and it's going to be fun to see where that conversation ends up going. But with you, I know you've got, you mentioned rounds.
Yeah.
I think you've got a couple of other programs. So before we close up, I want to make sure you get a chance to tell people what you have, what your offers are, and how to find you.
Sure. And thank you. And thank you to the audience for listening and putting out on me dribbling. And just hope this is service for everybody involved. And I've used Susanna. I have a couple of programs. What I really am going at the moment after is The Woman Reclaimed. And that is an 8-week deep dive with me, one-on-one. And I like to call it the emotional reset. So we look at what you truly want, what's stopping you, uncovering it, and completely reversing the blueprint that you've been shown in your life. The other one is A Million Dreams, and that is the cornerstone of everything that I do. And the Million Dreams Project is a group of it's a community of women who are like-minded, and there's a lot of courses in there, etc., etc. And they can all be found on my website, which is bazporter.com. If you want to reach out to me on LinkedIn, just send me a message privately. I know a lot of people out there are afraid to say I have problems. So just send me a message and say I saw you on Susanna's show. I'd love to have a conversation. I don't do sales calls. I'm not trying to pressure you into a sale or sell you something you don't need. If I don't think we're a good fit or I can't help you, I will tell you. And I will point you in a direction that I know someone that can. And it's about you doing the work. It's about you committing to your future, whatever that looks like. I'm not a babysitter. I'm certainly not your therapist. And I'll tell you exactly how it is and what I see going on. But I'll do it with love, kindness, and respect.
I love that. And it's the programs are there. CJ's talking about how she's that looking so cool. So
I can drop a link in somewhere when I find it if you want. I don't know. Hold on.
Yeah, please. I definitely want to make sure any links you've got go in.
Sure.
Because this is it's just I've loved all of this and the comments that you've had, the wisdom that you share, and we all have moments that are gonna define and redefine our paths. but it is important that we can find that authentic self, that we can stop trying to be whoever others are telling us to be and just walk out the door without a mask. And when I say that, it doesn't mean that you walk out and tell everybody whatever it is. It just you don't feel like you have to hide it. And that's what so often happens. And again, too, through this, there was one point as you were talking, it was reminding me when I think about boxes, people will stick us in a box with a label on it, and then they will do a subset of a subset of a subset to be their viewpoint, their definition of what that group of people would be, even though it's only a freaking sliver of who you are, and it doesn't even define.
I think the one thing that defines you is, one of the main things that defines you as is how we show up for other people. People have this awareness of you can show up for somebody in a certain way, but be someone else behind the scenes. But that's not authenticity.
Right.
And that people have a very strong awareness these days of the BS detector. And it's true. Throughout the last few years, this has become more and more apparent through many reasons I won't go into here. But be who you are. Stop being a version of yourself that's diluted to suit someone else, because you're not doing yourself any favors by doing that.
Exactly. And CJ's talked about this too in terms of one of the things she loves about meeting people, especially when we can do it in person, is that you get to find out, are they the same person in real life that you've gotten to know in the online life?
Yeah.
And we've crossed paths with some people that they really were that. They were one way interacting online, and in reality they were very different. And that makes it difficult to it just, that's the point where you look at them and it's like, okay, now you're going to start doing a step back and figuring out how to safely disconnect.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, I'd love having this conversation. I think it's I hope it's been valuable for the audience. Please share the message. If you need to get hold of Susanna or myself, CJ, we know where we are.
Exactly. As you can find us all on LinkedIn. And then I know with CJ, I'm also trying to expand a little bit beyond that, but most everything has been LinkedIn. So it's been great seeing everybody here, and I've loved this conversation. We could just keep going. I know there's more to go and more to dig deeper. But for now, we'll call it a day, and I will thank you for showing up and being here. And for everybody else, I will see y'all next Tuesday, same time, same place. Bye.